This is Zephaniah chapter 1 and verse 14 through 18. It reads, "The great day of the Lord is near. It is near, and hasteth greatly, even the voice of the day of the Lord. The mighty man shall cry there bitterly. That day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness, a day of the trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers. And I will bring distress upon men, that they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against Yahweh, and their blood shall be poured out as dust, and their flesh as the dung. Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord's wrath. But the whole land shall be devoured by the fire of his jealousy, for he shall make even in speedy riddance of all them that dwell in the land." Shalom Akim. This is your brother Zakaria Allah, branched out here in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Come with another lesson through the Spirit. Lord willing, this be edifying to the Lord's elect. I want to get this started by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wachar Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, whom I've grown in this truth under. Shalom to the Akim out there that's pushing the truth, that's laboring in the word, and that's pushing the gospel of the great kingdom that's soon to come. Shalom to the Akwath that's listening in, that's remaining true to the faith and remaining faithful and submissive to their husbands and guiding their children. And shalom to the hopeful elect of the 12 tribes scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth, you Israelite foreigners out there who live among the heathen and who look like those heathen nations. But your lineage goes back to the progenitors of the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel through the line of your fathers. I want to say peace and blessings to you all. Barak Thumb. All right. So this lesson was inspired by a conversation that I had earlier yesterday. One of my beloved Akwath, you know what I'm saying, who consistently sends me videos that can be used for edification, you know what I'm saying? Thawada, all right, and Shalom to that beloved sister, okay? And, she hit me up yesterday and she wanted to tell me what was on her spirit, which, I consider to be rather profound. And, and she rarely does this, right? Because she has a very calm and reserved spirit, you know what I'm saying? So it took me by surprise, which is one of the reasons why I claimed her, you know what I'm saying? But she said something interesting. She said these Americans, all right, these modern day Babylonians, they're not ready. They're nowhere near ready for what's coming. You know what I'm saying? They're nowhere near ready for what is about to happen. Right? Which is why I began with the book of Zephaniah chapter 1. You know what I'm saying? Because this is a day of darkness. It's a day of gloominess. A day of clouds and thick darkness, man. It's going to be nothing but chaos. All right? And confusion everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And so she essentially said that the people here in America completely lack the tenacity, the discipline, you know what I'm saying, and the grit, that it takes to make it through the terrible times, you know what I'm saying? And we know that preparing carnally is not going to get you through this, because no matter how much ammo you store up, no matter how much food you store in your pantries, there's no way to prepare for what's coming, man. You know what I'm saying? Only through the Spirit are you going to make it through this. Right? And so she went on to explain that she grew up in the West Indies, you know what I'm saying, in Trinidad and Tobago. So, of course, you know what I'm saying, that makes her a Benjamite. And, she says she grew up with both her parents, right? Her parents, along with her siblings, during a time, all right, she lived in a time where there was no lights and there was no water. All right? No lights and no water. Right? Which I could see being the case because you know what I'm saying, my brother had actually came from a trip to the Bahamas, you know what I'm saying? And he learned that there's barely any water, you know, regardless of how tropical the place is. You know, so the residents in the Bahamas, their their houses are all designed in a particular way that helps them to trap rainwater when it rains, so they can use it for so they can store it for usage, right? So I can see what she means by that there was no water. But anyway, the uh the thing is, she said that her family had farmland, right? And that they had to walk miles just to get some water. All right? Miles just to get water. Something so essential, you have to travel so far just to get. And all they had was prayer and faith, pretty much. Prayer and faith. And you gotta sit there, you gotta sit back and imagine that. Right? Imagine that. What if they were to travel for such long distance to get water, and then when they get there, none would be there? Imagine that. Imagine if you travel all that way and there's actually no water where you're going to. You know what I'm saying? You're solely moving on faith, with such a long trek. You're just relying on faith at that point, you know, because there may not be any water when we get there. So you got to trust in the Lord, right? And then you have to remember that there was no lights. So going all this way just to get some, just get water, and there's no lights on the way. All right? And then you have farmland. She had farmland, right? So here's another scenario. What if someone came in, to try and steal their crops while they was out getting some water? All right? That's one thing to think about. You won't be back home for hours because you're traveling for miles. Well, what if you left somebody behind to keep watch over the farm? All right? But then what if a wild animal was to attack you while you're on your journey to get the water? Okay? And let's say you didn't make it up out of that. So the one left at the farm would be left with complete uncertainty and anxiety, as the hours turn into days. You see what I'm saying? Imagine that. All right? And you got to really think about that, man. The scriptures tell us that there's going to be so few men left in the cities. All right? So few men left in the cities, man. Let's get this in 2nd Esdras. All right, 2nd Esdras chapter 16, verse 22. For many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine. Of famine. What have the prophets been telling you, man? There's not going to be any food. It's not going to be any water. It's not going to be any provision, man. You know what I'm saying? For many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. And the dead shall be cast out as dung, and there shall be no man to comfort them. All right? No one's going to be able to comfort them. No one's going to be able to bury your body, you know what I'm saying? Because there's going to be so much chaos and destruction around you. No one's got time. You see what I'm saying? And people are going to be afraid to come out and show themselves. Okay? It says, for the earth shall be wasted and the cities shall be cast down. There shall be no man left to till the earth or to sow it. The trees shall give fruit, and who shall gather them? The grapes shall ripen, and who shall tread them? For all places shall be desolate of men. For all places shall be desolate of men. So much so that one man shall desire to see another and to hear his voice. All right? Imagine the level of isolation of a city that holds well over a couple million people, reduced down to a couple hundred. You see what I'm saying? Imagine that. So it continues. It says, for of a city there shall be 10 left. All right, 10 left. I was being generous. I said 100. The scriptures say there shall be 10 left. All right. And of course, the word 10, the number 10 means completion. So it could be, you know what I'm saying? It could be like 5 people, or it could be 100 people. But it says it's going to be so little people that you're going to be looking around for someone in the city and you're not going to find nobody. You know what I'm saying? For of a city there shall be 10 left, and 2 of the field, which shall hide themselves in the thick groves and the clefts of the rocks, man. It's going to be people hiding. So you're not even going to know if anybody's alive. Like I said, they're going to be too afraid to show themselves. Right? And so, the beloved Akwath, all right, she said that, even throughout all those hardships that she had to endure growing up, she still kept her femininity. She still kept her demeanor as a woman. And above all, she still kept her faith. She still kept her faith. And that is very profound. You know what I'm saying? And it gives a testimony into showing how people really don't know what they have, all right, until they lose it. But those who were living in these conditions, all right, and already in those situations where they had to survive on literally a wing and a prayer, you know what I'm saying? Those type of people are going to be more prepared to endure times like these, because I was talking to what was it, a coworker of mine, and I was, I don't know how the conversation turned into the Great Depression, but we started talking about the Great Depression, and oh yeah, we was talking about, well, what if there was something that would cause a blackout? You know what I'm saying? Like, the conversation really went there. You know what I'm saying? It really went there, and I was surprised. But yeah, the conversation turned into, what if there was a blackout, or what if what if everything was to just stop? And I thought about the Great Depression, and I was like, hey man, when you think about what happened with the markets, you know what I'm saying? In the 20s, I think it was 1923 or something like that. I'm not quite sure, but when the market had crashed and caused the Great Depression, the people still had the knowledge of farming. The people still had the knowledge of, cultivating crops and whatnot. But people today, no way. You know what I'm saying? No way, man. People don't know how to farm or nothing like that. They don't know how to fish or hunt. You know what I'm saying? So when you contrast that to the women of today, all of what my beloved Akwath had told me, when you contrast that to the women to today, all right, to Americans as a whole, men, women, children, you know what I'm saying? But especially the women here in the U.S., think about it. Imagine how that same scenario would play out. Here she had no lights, she had no water in Trinidad and Tobago, and she had to travel for hours. She had to travel for miles to get some water. Nowadays, people can't walk to the nearest grocery store, man. They gotta order Uber Eats, or they gotta order, you know what I'm saying, DoorDash or some shit. Right? So imagine that same scenario. What would happen if the lights had went out and there was no electricity? You know, like I said, I was talking about this with my coworker. You know, how would that affect the people, man? Both men and women. You know, when you think about it, most people today, they can't go for more than an hour without their phones. That's crazy, man. They can't go for an hour without their phones. And this brings to mind the movie The Book of Eli, right? That one that one quote that came from Eli when he was speaking to Solara. All right, let me get that quote real quick. All right. And so Eli, who's played by Denzel Washington, he said what? He said people had more than they needed. We had no idea what was precious and what wasn't. We threw away things people kill each other for now. You see? Threw away things that people kill each other for. In the near future, people are going to be destroying each other for the things that you take for granted on a day-to-day basis, man. All right? That's something you got to really think hard about. The Lord said he's going to break their staff of bread. Let me get that real quick. Real quick. All right. So we're going to go to the book of the book of Ezekiel chapter 4. All right. Book of Ezekiel chapter 4 and verse 16, it says, "Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, behold, I will break the staff of bread in Jerusalem, and they shall eat bread by weight and with care, and they shall drink water with by measure and with astonishment." You see what I'm saying? The people are not going to have any food. The people are not going to have the things that they have now. You know what I'm saying? Let's go back to 2nd Esdras. And let's give chapter 15, 2nd Esdras 15 and verse 57. It says, thy children shall die of hunger, and thou shalt fall through the sword. Thy cities shall be broken down, and all thine shall perish with the sword in the field. They that be in the mountains shall die of hunger. Why does it keep talking about hunger, man? Because there's not going to be any food. All right? Water. Imagine going on a long journey just to get some water, man. Like my beloved Akwath had explained. You see? They that be in the mountains shall die of hunger, and eat their own flesh, and drink their own blood, for very hunger of bread and thirst of water. You see? What does it say? Jumping up in chapter 15, 2nd Esdras chapter 15 and verse 17, it says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. For because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. See? Let's go back. All right. And when you think on it, speaking about faith, you know, we see today how easily people lose their faith. You know what I'm saying? When faced with times that don't, you know, let me put it this way. We're seeing how people are easily losing their faith when they're going through tough times, all right? But these times don't even offer the same, not even a fraction of the type of challenges, okay, and the burdens that the Akwath had to endure when she was growing up. All right? People start to lose their faith when they're only being tested but a slight degree. You see? But imagine growing up in that. Imagine growing up in that type of environment where you have to be resourceful. You know what I'm saying? You got to be resourceful, man. I was listening to the priest Mahalalia yesterday, and what was he said? He mentioned the saying that goes, "Bad times make strong men." All right, strong men make good times. Good times make weak men, and weak men make bad times. Okay? And where we are right now, we're in the era where weak men, namely Esau Edom, is ruling the earth and running the show. You know what I'm saying? So the Lord is about to let bad times, he's about to let the bad times roll, man. All right? Like the song says, let the good times roll. Well, the Lord's about to let the bad times roll, man. He's about to let the bad times roll. You see? And the sister says she didn't have the use of gas stoves. You know what I'm saying? These stoves that we have, you know what I'm saying, and we take for granted. She said her family didn't have that. They didn't have stoves. They didn't have gas like that. They had to cook their food off of stone and wood. You know what I'm saying? Having to make their meals from scratch. These people are not ready for what's coming, man. They're not ready for what's coming. You know what I'm saying? You Jakes done laughed at the prophets. You know what I'm saying? But very soon the Lord is going to send the judgment. He going to send it. Let's go to Jeremiah. All right, Jeremiah chapter 15 and verse 1. It says, "Then said the Lord unto me, though Moses and Samuel stood before me, yet my mind could not be toward this people. Cast them out of my sight and let them go forth. And it shall come to pass, if they say unto thee, whither shall we go forth? Then thou shalt tell them, thus saith Yahweh, such as are for death to death, and such as are for the sword to the sword, and such as are for the famine to the famine, and such as are for the captivity to the captivity. And I will appoint over them 4 kinds, saith Yahweh, the sword to slay, and the dogs to tear, and the fowls of the heaven, and the beasts of the earth to devour and destroy." You see? These people ain't ready, man. They ain't ready. But don't get it twisted. We of the hopeful elect are going to be going through these same troubling times, man. We're going to be going through it. And there will be a level of uncomfortability, man. That's inevitable. We're going to have to go through this thing, man. The Lord said, he that endureth unto the end, the same shall be saved. We're going to have to endure these times, right? But we have to keep in mind the promises that the Lord, all right, had made with us. You see? So I'm gonna leave you with some, with some precepts that I had lined up, what I'm saying, to give you comfort. All right. So let's go to the book of Job. All right, Job chapter 5 and verse 22. It says, "At destruction and famine thou shalt laugh, neither shalt thou be afraid of the beasts of the earth. For thou shalt be in league with the stones of the field, and the beasts of the field shall be at peace with thee." You see what I'm saying? So the Lord's going to take care of us. He's going to protect us throughout it. All right? Let's go to 2nd Esdras. All right, this is 2nd Esdras chapter 2 and verse 27. All right, it reads, "Be not weary, for when the day of trouble and heaviness cometh, others shall weep and be sorrowful, but thou shalt be merry and have abundance. The heathen shall envy thee, but they shall be able to do nothing against thee, saith Yahweh. My hands shall cover thee, so that thy children shall not see hell." If you're worried about your children, don't worry. See what I'm saying? The Lord's going to take care of them. All right? So long as you remain steadfast, so long as you continue to keep the faith, man. All right? The Lord's going to take care of your children. Right? Now, if they grown up and all that stuff, man, they're able to do for themselves. You know what I'm saying? They're able to take care of themselves. They can make their own decisions. All right? They can choose to listen to the prophets or not. All right? But for your little ones that's not able to make the decisions for themselves, man, all right, you're in charge of their well-being. You know what I'm saying? And if you keep, if you keep following the Lord's guidance, you know what I'm saying, he's going to take care of you, and he's going to take care of them. Right? So, in verse 30, it says, let me hit verse 29 again. It says, "My hand shall cover thee, so that thy children shall not see hell." All right? The conditions that's about to befall us, man, is going to be some hellish conditions that only the elect are going to be taken care of and guided through. Okay? Verse 30, "Be joyful, O thou mother, with thy children, for I will deliver thee, saith the Lord, Yahweh." And the scriptures also say that the women shall be saved in childbearing. But let's go to Isaiah. All right, this is Isaiah chapter 65. Isaiah 65 and verse 13. It reads, "Therefore, thus saith Yahweh power, behold, my servants shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servants shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servants shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed." See what I'm saying? Verse 14, "Behold, my servants shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit." So keep pushing, man. Keep pushing. Don't stop believing. Okay? I'm gonna End this off in the book of 1 Thessalonians. This is 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 9. It reads, "For the Most High hath not appointed us to wrath, but to obtain salvation by our Lord Yahushua HaMashiach." Understand something. The times that we're entering into and all these great judgments that we're about to see, all right, it's not appointed to the hopeful elect. It's not appointed to those who have put their trust in the Lord, all right? It's not appointed to those who have sought his name, man, because the scriptures say the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run into it and are safe. All right? Keep the faith in Yahweh Yahushai, and you'll not be left alone. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to cut that there. I pray this lesson was edifying to the elect of the nation of Israel. It's 144, call hello, Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. All right? This has been your brother Zakaria Allah, branched out here in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. In closing, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Ruchak, Wadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, of whom I've grown in this truth under. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. Shalom.